Good morning, businesses in Surrey. Welcome to our webinar today. We'll just give it 30 seconds to allow people to join and then we shall begin. Okay, so I'm Lucy Huddlestone from Business Surrey and I'm delighted to welcome you here today. And today we'll be hearing from Dan Chidley, a trusted business coach and mentor who works with individuals, businesses and not-for-profits to support personal, professional and business growth. Dan brings more than 20 years experience as a senior marketing and communications professional. He is also a chartered marketeer and a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. As I say, Dan is known for his insightful and practical approach to marketing. He's worked extensively with Surrey businesses and brings a wealth of experience that we know will be incredibly valuable to all of us here today. So whether you're joining us to learn, reflect, or take away actionable ideas, you're in the right place. We'll keep things interactive, so please do use the chat to share your thoughts or ask questions as we go, and we'll hopefully pop in some time for your Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Dan to speak to you about communicating with confidence.
Thanks, Lucy, and good morning, everyone. So as Lucy suggests, I help and support startups and scale-ups in navigating their biggest marketing challenges and their biggest marketing opportunities, and supporting in creating actionable next steps. And that's the purpose really of the next 15-20 minutes, is to ensure that you have time to reflect on some areas that you may be looking to work on, and create some next steps for you to move forward with it. So today we're talking about communicating with confidence, and we have two aims for the next 15-20 minutes or so. So want to support you in developing branding that resonates, and messaging that cuts through to your audience and your intended audience. And we'll do that by helping you define and express your brand, your story, so that you're as consistent as possible when telling that story to the people that you want to hear it. A couple of further notes. Please grab a pen and paper or something to write on. This will be interactive and you'll be able to make a few notes along the way. We will share the slides and helpful links with you at the end of the session, so you don't necessarily need to take notes all the way through. And then please do add questions at the end. We'll cover all the questions that you have at the end of the presentation. So we've got 3 questions we're going to try to answer today for you and your business. I'll just detail them here first, and then we'll consider each one in turn. So when someone discovers your business for the first time, what do you want them to think, to feel, or say about you and your business? Why does your business exist, and how would you explain that in a short story or sentence to someone that's never heard of you or your business? And what do you help your customers with, and what makes your approach distinctive to others in your marketplace? So we'll tackle each one of these in turn with some things to think about. So when somebody discovers your business for the first time, what do you want them to think, feel, or say about you? You know, where does this show up or not show up today for your business? You know, where are the examples for you in your business where this has happened this week? As we know, in all walks of life, let alone in business, first impressions shape whether people will trust you and your story. The best businesses and the best brands, it's how you make those people, those customers, those potential clients feel, and whether you understand what challenge it is that they're navigating, or the problem that they have. And one of the fundamental reasons we're covering this today is, if you don't decide what people should think and feel, they'll decide for you. They will tell their story, and they will put you in a box. So we just want to clarify the emotional side of your brand and your business and create some messaging that connects with those people, not just inform them, but a deeper connection. So, color psychology is an area that we could spend hours talking about, but I wanted just to reintroduce and highlight that, even down to the colors in your business, are you utilizing the color palette to create an emotional connection with your business? You'll see examples here of some well-known global brands and the reasons why they may choose a particular set of color schemes on their branding. You will therefore see the reason why Business Surrey and Surrey County Council, for example, would want the blues and the greens, and you'll notice that lots of organisations in trusted public sector places will lean on those sorts of colours, whereas things such as fast food, entertainment, experiential brands would often take colours towards the left of the spectrum. Which colour palette are you using in your business, and could you be more intentional and deliberate with that, based on the evidence that's out there? A well-trodden field and lots of further resources out there if this is something that you feel could benefit your business. But taking a step back and considering your broader branding is, I've got an example here of an independent cafe. So what does that independent cafe want their customers to think, feel, or talk about their business? So they want them to think that this place cares about quality. They want them to feel relaxed, welcomed, and valued, and that you should try that cafe. And that it feels different, encouraging other people to come. So they're looking for branding that supports this through warm language, friendly tone of voice, whether that's in person or on their communications, and really simple, honest, relatable visuals. So I'd like you to complete these sentences for your business. So I want people to think. So complete these sentences on your piece of paper. I want people to think. I want people to feel. And I want people to say. What do you want your clients or potential clients to think, to feel, and say? And then just take a very brief moment to reflect on how they are thinking, feeling, or talking about your business at the moment. And is there a disconnect between the two? And if there is, now's the time to do something about it. And that's why we're all here. So you'll have some further time in your own time to develop some of these next steps and actions. And once you've completed those sentences, review your homepage, review your social media platforms. Does it support the feelings you choose, the feelings that you choose that you want your customers to think and feel about your business? Check at least one customer touch point over the next couple of days. Ideally, check all of your customer touch points. In-person, physical touch points, or perhaps it's human interactions, customer service, those sorts of things. And then remove or rewrite or reproduce anything that doesn't match this desired impression. Now, a couple of top tips just to consider. So firstly, really try to focus on three or so words maximum. Clarity comes from simplicity. Also, don't aim to please all the people all of the time. It's really important that you've understood your target audience and the segment that you're looking to communicate with. And I'll touch on that at the very end of our conversation today. And it's so important that you believe what you're saying. If you don't believe it, then then your customers and potential clients won't believe it either. So it's got to absolutely be believable to you and your clients. So the second question we're going to introduce is, why does your business exist? And how would you explain it in a short story or sentence to someone who's never heard of you before? So how have you been telling this story this week? How have you been telling this story this morning? And let's get a little bit more deliberate and intentional on how we may tell that story going forward, because people connect to reasons, they connect to benefits. They don't just benefits to them. They don't just connect with services. It's this why that will make you and your business more human, more memorable, create better experiences, create better, more meaningful interactions. And this can really set the scene on how you talk about your business everywhere across all of the different touch points we were talking about earlier. But firstly, let's consider which is your type of business story. Now, I've pulled out an example from Go Narrative, where they consider 7 types of business stories. There's many, many more out there that you can consider. Again, an area and a field that if you're interested in, there are lots of further resources that we can signpost you to. But I'd be curious which one of these closely relates to your business. Is it that you provide an innovation or a different way of doing things than other businesses do? Is it that you have found a way to improve customer experiences in a particular area of their lives or in their businesses? Is it that you're particularly good at shaping the future for people or individuals? Or perhaps you're a catalyst for change, or you're there to change perceptions of a particular industry or service. Whatever it might be, it's really good to get a handle of what your personal and business story is and how that can relate to your target audience. So I'll give you, I'll share an example with you. So this example is from a bookkeeping business. I'll just read this out. I started my business after seeing how many small business owners felt stressed and confused about their finances. I wanted to make money feel simple and manageable so they could focus on what they love. So this story explains the motivation, it shows empathy, and it feels human and like a lot of small businesses, isn't corporate at all, which would be deliberate and intentional on their part. So I'd like you to use this structure to also articulate a very short sentence and story for your business. So I started this business because. Finish that sentence. I started this business because. I noticed that many customers struggle with X or Y or Z. And I want to help them by. I want to help them by. And then over time, in the coming hours or days, refine this and create a 1-sentence version of this. Now, you will have noticed at the beginning of this presentation, Lucy introduced me, and then I went a step further and reintroduced myself, just very briefly, following this structure. And I'll say it again. And I wrote it down just to reiterate it. So I help startups and scale-ups navigate their marketing challenges and opportunities with actionable next steps. That's why my business exists. That's why I'm here. And I reintroduce myself today to reiterate that point. So once you've done that, it can then form the basis of an about section on your website, an intro within networking or presentations. You can use it to pin a social media. You can create a social media post and then pin it, or it can be a running theme. But fundamentally, again, as I said with the previous challenge, is share it with people does it sound authentic? Does it sound like you? If you don't believe it, and fundamentally, if it's not true, then it won't be believable. Ensure that it's true. Keep it real. Don't use jargon and buzzwords. Um, the more simple language you use, the more relatable it will be to the widest possible audience. And in an ideal world, you would build on it further to make it the sort of thing that only you could say, or certainly in amongst your competitive set, maybe across 2 or 3 or 4 other competitors. Does it make you distinctive across the other 3 or 4 in your competitive set? So I would go a step further in my business and say, unlike others, I don't use jargon, and I use a coaching approach to working with others. And that starts to differentiate me and my service from others that may do similar things. And then the third question is, what do you help your customers with? And what makes your approach different or better than others? We were speaking to that just then in terms of the distinctive messaging and how is that coming through right now? It really allows customers very quickly to decide why they would choose you as opposed to a different supplier or a different offer. And the common misconception is it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be bold, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be radical, but be concise, be simple, be clear. That's where really strong, confident messaging comes from. So nobody told the chick that in terms of being bold. So an example, so a digital marketing consultant that helps get more online customers for small business owners. So they've identified that they're different because they focus on simple systems instead of trends. So their sentence would be, I help small businesses get more customers online without complicated tools or constant posting. Music to most small business people's ears in the world that I hang out in. So it's clear, it's specific, and it's easy for them to repeat. So now do the same for your business. So on your pen, paper, or notepad, fill in the blanks. I or we help. Who do you help? With? What do you help them with? What problem and challenge do you help your clients with? And how do you help them? You help them by, you tell your response. And unlike others, I, X, Y, and Z. So for me, it was reduce the jargon. It's about a different type of approach, slightly different approach, perhaps, to others. And then over time, refine this into a shorter version or a more specific version or a more articulate version. And it will serve you well. It's really, again, a really good foundation to build further clarity in your brand and communications. So a few tips, test it, keep testing, keep refining it, keep saying it out loud, keep saying it to different people, different audiences that are important stakeholders in this. Is it repeatable after hearing it once? And then once you've landed on something, use it consistently. Use it consistently across all of your different touch points and platforms. Be really specific, and just one really important point to make is, and this has been true of all of the examples that I've given today, is the difference is often how you work, not what you do. There are very few businesses out there that actually do something distinctive, but they often work in a distinctive way or do something in a distinctive way. And it's being able to articulate that will serve your business well going forward. And it's from this clarity, all of this sounds very simple, but once you've done this work and you can move forward, you can build on it, and it really does exude confidence going forwards. So a couple of quotes just to reiterate some of the themes that I've highlighted so far. So, your brand is a story unfolding across all customer touch points. So once you've identified the story you want to tell, you can then use the various customer touch points to help reiterate that story, to keep telling it. But this is the most fundamental point. And if you don't take anything else away from today's presentation, this is the one that I want to highlight, is if you don't give the market the story to talk about, they'll define your brand story for you. They will put you in a box. And it's really hard to get out of that box. So ensure that you are being extremely clear going into the final quote of defining what you stand for, what your brand stands for, its core values, how you might communicate that, and then do so consistently over time. Now, what we don't have time for in today's webinar are areas such as brand values, around tone of voice, but I can share further templates and tools with you following this webinar today in order to develop this further once you've done these foundation exercises. So I also wanted to identify a quick checklist to identify any quick wins or any opportunities within your business of how your business looks and feels today to where it might look and feel if you follow the story and articulate the story that you've identified in the earlier exercises. So just to pull some of these out, does your logo match your brand feeling? Is it being used consistently everywhere? Do the colors that you've utilized support your brand personality? Are you using those same colors consistently? Are you using them deliberately and intentionally, following the evidence and the research? Do your fonts match your brand tone? Is it professional or is it friendly? And are you using those consistently? But the particular area to focus attention on is, do your images, your graphics, does the video style that you use, does that convey the story and the messaging that you want customers to feel about you and to say about you? Is it the right mood, the right lighting, the right quality? And fundamentally, are they distinctive? And this is the biggest risk of using things such as stock imagery, etc. is, are you creating something that is creating meaningful human interactions with your business? And using real photography, real video content is fundamental to that. And then overall, does this business look like me? Does it look like my business? Is it helping you stand out amongst, not being divisive necessarily, but just being super clear of what you stand for and why you do what you do. And then simplicity. What can you do to cut these down? What can you do to simplify this? So as I said, this covers a lot of the foundation elements, the first building blocks of a robust communications strategy. But further brand strategy exercises, templates, worksheets. We can provide these particularly on any challenges or opportunities that you feel for your business. Feel free to share those in the chat, any particular areas that you would like further resources on, and we can signpost and share those. These are well-trodden paths, and there's lots of content out there already that can support you in so many of these areas. So a couple of things to highlight, a couple of other resources. So as I've shared, as you may have seen on previous presentations that I've done, around 2/3 of small and medium enterprises have no marketing plan. 2/3. So you're not alone if you don't have a marketing action plan. But we've produced at Business Surrey a marketing toolkit, which is freely available. You register on the Business Surrey website, and then there are 4 videos, step-by-step guides that we've created in order for you, by the end of that video, to have got a marketing plan that you can utilize. And there is a space in there for brand messaging, for unique selling points, for clarity, general clarity of communications and messaging. And this section, this webinar today builds on the work and the content that we've got in there. And then in my last presentation, we did a lot of work around the marketing mindset. And what I'd encourage you all to do is to take what we've covered today, and how are you adopting a marketing mindset to this? Could you be more creative? Could you be more confident out there and more committed to what you're trying to achieve? But also, really get into the point of view of the customer, the target audience. What is it that they need and want from you, and having that customer centric mindset, really important when considering some of the themes that we've talked about today. So I appreciate this is very short and sharp whistle-stop tour of branding, of communicating with clarity, but an opportunity for some discussion, some questions towards the end. Feel free to get in touch if you've got any further questions, ideas for resources or particular marketing challenges or opportunities that your business is navigating at the moment. And we've got 2 further marketing lab webinars, short, sharp introductions to various themes. The next 2 themes are around digital growth and around automation, and automation within your business, specific to the marketing function and marketing challenges of your business. So I'm going to hand back to Lucy, who's hopefully going to help facilitate a Q&A. What I'm going to do is stop sharing my screen just so that I can be back in the room.
Thank you, Daniel. That was really great. And I think having these half-an-hour sessions is just really lovely bite-sized amounts of time for people to absorb and learn and do in the middle of busy days. I have shared the link to the next 2 sessions, so feel free to go on and book onto those as and when you require. I think, as and when you've got time. We don't have any questions at the moment in the chat, but that's brilliant, because that just means Daniel's explained everything to you really well. I think I'd like to be, just to comment on the colours, I'd like to see myself as purple and demure, but I think I'm probably at the other end of the scale in terms of colour. But it's just really interesting to even think about it personally, even if you don't have a business. Think about what colours you are. Anyway,
well,
but it's
and just to build on that, Lucy, is a really good point. Often we may choose the colors that we want to be for our business, and actually it's thinking about the target audience and what do they need us to be, what story do they need to hear from us, that we need to tell them, and therefore what color, the color I would choose personally for my business would I imagine be very different to the color that my audience wants to see, based on what I want them to fit.
That's it. Well, I think if anybody has any questions and or wants to share their colours, please feel free to do so. But I absolutely agree. I was thinking that inside my mind. I was thinking, yeah, colour shouldn't be thinking about me. Oh, we do have a question here. Do you think it's a more personable approach to use icons or photos on a website for a community centre? So,
A good question.
thank you.
So in terms, so community centre, so the audience would be community users, local users, perhaps organisers, people might book the space. Um, so for me, I would say in an ideal world, yes, it's all about community. It's all about people. So therefore, photos and video content would be really critical actually for creating the right environment. Now, icons, there's lots of reasons to use icons. It's great for accessibility. It's great for short form sort of breaking down large amounts of text, for example. What I would encourage is iconography is a thing in the same way as fonts. So choose icons that are simple, that are on brand, but they can serve well. So personally, I would go for photos, but you could use some icons as well to simplify the message. We've got a
And
couple of other questions here.
yeah,
I'm
of course.
quite
Can you
happy to
see them?
keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Any advice on colours for a teaching business? So I
So
think
for
this is from
yeah, going
children
back
in
to
particular.
so
Mm,
yeah, going back to the slide, absolutely would be about trust, security, wisdom. So probably, a very, very quick answer would be sort of blues and purples. Blues and purples. But you if you have a little research online, I can signpost along with the slides afterwards. You would find some very clear suggestions, and have a look at the marketplace. There will be lots of big brands in the space that are doing this stuff deliberately. There's probably a predominant color or range of colors.
yes, it's not always just the colour that stands out to people that might be really bright. It's
Mm,
nice actually to have the thought that the business Surrey colours have been well thought through by our marketing team. Okay, I'm
absolutely.
glad you found it useful.
Great. Yeah, I think we've covered
I
everything
think we've
there.
wrapped it up. Thank you ever so much, Dan. It's been really useful. And thank you everyone for attending today. And hopefully we'll see you at the next session, which is on the 12th of February. So we'll see you then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.